Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole. It's been a while, my bad. I really need to stop taking these multi-month breaks from YouTube, but I am back and I am here with a new video. If you have stuck around with me this long after multiple breaks like this, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoy today's video, which is going to be sort of an intro to a month-long series I want to do here on this channel, which is One Book July. For those of you who are unfamiliar with One Book July, it does kind of vary from person to person who partakes in this challenge. I think the original One Book July challenge was challenging yourself to plan, journal, do anything that you were going to do on paper in one book, and then specifically with one pen. I do believe that that was how it was originally designed. But like I said, people who generally partake in this challenge, I feel like we all just kind of put our own spin on it and do what it is that we think will work best for us. But the main thing and the most important thing, in my opinion, is that you only have one book. If you're a multi-planner person, you basically consolidate everything into one book. Also, side note, if you hear fireworks in the background, I'm sorry, but it's July 3rd and I live in the Midwest, so you know, it is what it is. I can't stop it, so I apologize if you can hear it, but we will persevere. So let me quickly explain why I'm doing One Book July, and then we will go through my setup and flip through the pages that I have already done. Spoiler alert, I did start this journal in the latter half of June, so it wasn't originally intended to be a One Book July thing, but it did end up developing into that, and we will talk about that as we go through. So there are kind of two main reasons that I decided to do One Book July. The first being that planning has kind of fallen by the wayside for me. So if you remember my lineup for 2024, I was planning on using the Hobonichi Cousin, but the Hone version with the Liberty Fabrics cover. Still beautiful, still gorgeous, still the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life. But for some reason this year, after like 3 months, I was not really clicking with the Hobonichi Cousin. I don't know what it is. I've used it before and really enjoyed it. I don't know why this year I just like wasn't vibing with it, but it kind of fell off. And since that was my planner and I had split my creative journal and my planner, I stuck with the creative journal and I was very consistent with it. But my planner, like I said, kind of fell off. I stopped using it, and that meant that I kind of stopped planning altogether, which is not good when you live by yourself and you are responsible for everything in your life. And then sort of going off of the, like, I was super consistent in my creative journal. I was in the Hobonichi Avec, the original A6 size. And look at this, I loved it. I was so consistent with this. But as you guys are probably all familiar with, the Avec system has like a built-in reset, if you will, because the year is split into two books. So this book had January through June, and then there's a second book that has July through December. And as you can see, I have filled this puppy up from January to June. I still have a few pages left in June to complete, and then I will do a flip through for all of you on this book. But basically, I finished that book, and while I loved it and while I was super consistent in it, I am kind of a little bit bored. Like, I think that's just my personality. It's not necessarily like anything that was wrong with the book, because like I said, I used it for 6 months, but I feel like now I'm kind of like, I just want something new. So I was like, I need a planner and I want a new journal. Why not try to put them into one? So that's kind of how I decided that I wanted to do One Book July. But like I said, this specific notebook was not started with the intent to do One Book July. It was more of the first reason, which was that I needed a planner to use. And while I was in this and not touching my Hone, I did not have a place to long form journal. And that was something that I was really missing. I usually did not work in the A6 in real time. I wasn't doing it every single day, which means that I was putting together spreads later and I wasn't journaling my thoughts when I had them. And that was something that I was really missing and something that I would have done in the Hone if I had been consistent with it. So that's why I picked this up. And this is the Leuchtturm A5 dot grid journal, the OG of bullet journals, if you will. This is in the lobster color. I think it's absolutely stunning. I got this at Barnes & Noble. I was between this and the apricot color, which is like, is like an apricot. It's like a light orange. It was so pretty. But I ultimately decided to pick this one up because I've really been into coral lately. It's one of my favorite colors. So I grabbed that, and I wanted this originally to be a planner and long form journal. So let's actually go ahead and flip through the opening pages before the One Book July portion of it, just so you can see what I've already got going on and how I was using it then. So we open it up, and I did put a little pocket in here. Am I in frame? It's been a while, guys. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Okay, fingers crossed that I am, so I don't have to refilm this, but I did stick an adhesive pocket in here and slid in the Hobonichi stencil. This is my absolute favorite stencil for planning. It is not sized for this because this is a 5mm grid, and this stencil is sized for the, I believe, 3.9 or 3.7, one of those two. It's sized for the Hobonichi cousin, but I really am comfortable with this stencil. It's small, it's portable, it fits in this pocket. I just love it, so I'm gonna continue to use it, and I'll just kind of adjust it when I'm putting it into the grid. I went ahead and used my date stamp to date the day that I started this journal, and then at the end of the journal, I will date the end date. So I started this on June 19th. So flipping the page, I am not using the table of contents. I thought about it. I never stick to it, so I'm just gonna leave it blank. It is what it is. And then I also did not touch this front page because I don't know what to do with it. So I just left it blank. And then the first spread that I set up was what I'm calling my pen vibe check. This is sort of what I am using in lieu of a swatch page for this journal. I have been seeing swatch pages going around a lot on Instagram. I have done a couple myself in the past in other journals, but what I noticed is that even when I set up swatch pages, it's like I don't really trust them. Like, I don't know, it was like, maybe I just don't trust myself to label them correctly. I don't know. Either way, I always end up using a back page to swatch markers anyway. Again, even though I have a swatch page, or maybe I want to see a couple of colors together or try to match them to a washi tape. So I just decided in lieu of a swatch page, I was just going to have this first spread totally blank. And as I want to use different colors and spreads, I'll just swatch them out in real time. So you can see like I have a ton of blues here together because I was trying to find a blue that matched this. I've got some purples here, oranges. So that's sort of how I plan on using that as the year goes on. And then when I find one that I want, I'll just set it to the side and put it in my pencil bag rather than like trying to match it up with a swatch page. I don't know. It's just another way to do it. It's just like we're skipping the middleman and we're going straight to what I always end up doing anyway. So why waste the time setting it up? Even though it is very aesthetic, I will say that. But flipping the page, we go straight into my first weekly. In the past, I have been a daily planner, but I've noticed that I think a weekly serves me better in this stage of my life, I guess. I find that how I've set this up is good enough for me. Plus, I like seeing a timetable that really clicks in my brain. It's how my like Google Calendar and my work calendars are set up. And that's just how I like it. I found that this really worked well the first week, and it's been working well ever since. So this is what I'm going to continue to do until it stops working. But essentially what I do is I time block like a traditional vertical weekly. I know it's kind of hard to see because I've written a lot in here, but like Pilates I had at 6, so I wrote it down around, well, you can't see because there's a sticker, but it's at the 6 o'clock mark. These Stanley Cup final games were around the time that they happened. My vet appointment was at 9. So things generally are on the timeline where they should be. And I'm using the timeline number washi from Sterling Ink. It's again not sized for this planner, but it's close enough. It'll do. And then I also block off my work days, and then I turn the book sideways. Oh gosh, I hope I'm in frame here. I turn the book sideways and I write my task list in a horizontal just so that I have more room. Don't want to like squish my writing. So that's how I've been fitting all of those in. And I found that these columns are 6 across, and then 6 tasks is good enough for me. It's really all I need. And you can see most of the days I don't even use all of them. So yeah, this has been working really well for me. And then flipping the page, you'll see I started this on the 19th and I just needed to write stuff down. And I felt like I needed a new journal to do that. And here we are. So I started writing stuff down. I'm using some washi. I'm using up my fountain pens, which we, again, we'll get to in a minute as we get further into this flip. But yeah, we've got Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, the Girl So Confusing version with Lorde dropped, and it totally took over my life, I want to say. The original version was so good. One of my favorites on the album when it released. This version, even better, amazing, perfect, iconic. We love it. And you can see that I am not restricting myself to a day per page like the Hobonichi was. I'm just writing until I stop, and then I'm starting up again. And it's just a really organic flow. There's no real structure at all, unless I want to give it structure. So on Saturday, I was in Pittsburgh for a Pirates game. So I wrote a little bit about that. And then this was the day that I was, well, more like Friday was the day because of these. But I was like, what if I tried doing what I typically do in a creative journal in here? And if you guys are familiar with my content at all, you know that I love printing things out and sticking them in. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it makes journaling really fun and easy for me. So I printed out these screenshots and put them in here, and then I was like, maybe this could work as a creative journal, similar to what I'm doing in my Hobonichi, but just like also incorporating the long form journaling and the planning, because I have my weekly with plans here. And then you can see I needed to do an apartment reset on Sunday. Obviously I didn't get all of it done, but I wanted to, so I included this little list here. And then we move on to the next week, which is the last week in June. Went to a wedding on the weekend. So I wanted to do like some cute little like flowers, and I like the kind of juxtaposition between, you know, the cyber tech portion and the like delicate floral pet tapes. So I think that turned out pretty cute. Didn't finish this. I was supposed to write US men's national team, US presidential candidates, and embarrassing the US on a national scale. That's what that was supposed to be, but obviously I didn't finish it. Here we have a financial spread. So I have really fallen off budgeting. It kind of happened at the same time I fell off of planning. I used to be really good about tracking my expenses, and I won't say like staying on budget, but at least being aware of my budget. But that has really kind of slipped in the past. So I decided to shame myself into doing it again, which meant writing out all of my purchases for the month of June. This was done on June 23rd, and I was over budget, but I mean, it is what it is. So the only thing we can do is do better next time. So that's what we're gonna do. I have my totals covered up. I mean, if you sat here and added these, you could get to the totals, but I'm not sure how comfortable I am with sharing financial stuff. Like, I want to be, because I like watching other people do it, but I don't know. We're not there yet. Maybe someday, but not right now. Then we just start the long form journaling again. So we have the Stanley Cup Game 7 final on Monday. I really like the way that this spread looks together. I just think the washi tapes that I picked, while they don't like match really at all, they go together well enough. And with like the fountain pen ink that I have inked up right now, this is one of my favorite pages, and I really like it. Thursday was the U.S. Cup of America match and the U.S. presidential debate. Just a horrible night for America in general. We don't have to look at that. Let's see. On Saturday, it was the wedding. Very nice. Another picture, and this was like the little name tag that was on the flowers that were on our like place settings. So I kept that and stuck it in here. And then we have my baseball tracker, one of my favorite spreads in the whole journal so far. This is heavily inspired by Ellie of Ellie's Corner. I will tag her down below, and I'll also try to link a video of hers that has this in it, or an Instagram post that has this specific spread in it. She does hers a little bit differently, but I got like the idea to use like a box per game from her, so definitely wanted to shout that out. These were like decals that I got in Pittsburgh at the like team store, so that's why they're like huge, but I really wanted to use them. We've got a meme. The spacing is a little bit off because I did not plan this ahead of time in terms of like number of games, squares, that kind of thing. I was just kind of going for it, so that's why there's this like weird empty space, but I'll figure out something to fill that in with at the end of the season. Then we had the last day of the week on Sunday, and then we did a little June wrap up before July started. So I really like the way this page turned out. It's really, really busy, but I think it came together really well. It was one of those like huge trust the process situations. It wasn't looking great as we were doing it, but I really like the way it came together. We've got my Receiptify, girl, so confusing version with Lord, which if you remember, only came out on June 21st. So that tells you how much I really like that song. And I thought it was funny that Club Classics is on here twice, because apparently I listened to it enough on both the original version of the album and the deluxe version of the album that it made it on here twice, which I thought was funny. But yeah. Then we go into July, and you can see here, this is where I decided that I wanted to do One Book July. I had my Hobonichi A6 second half book already set up and ready to go, but I decided that I wanted to do One Book July, so that's just gonna sit for a little bit, and it'll be there waiting if I need it, but hopefully I don't, because I'm really, really liking the way this is going. So I just have some stationery challenges I want to do. So in addition to One Book July, I really want to write down all of my fountain pens, and I want to actually write them dry instead of just emptying them and refilling them. So I made a little level sort of thing with how much ink is left in each of the converters. And I used these printables from the Coffee Monsters coat. So all of these pens, like in her original design, are blue, and I had printed them out that way. And then I remembered that the Jelly Roll pens are like 100% opaque, and they can cover anything on paper. So these were all originally blue. I did not like edit them digitally before I printed them. I just colored over them with pens. And then I wanted to do a monthly, but I didn't feel like I needed a whole monthly. I pretty much am totally reliant on my Google Calendar, and that's what I use to reference a monthly, but I still wanted to have one just to look back on, if not this month, then like in a couple months, or like when I'm reminiscing and flipping back through this. I do kind of want to know what happened and not have to go to my phone. So I just printed out a sticky note printable from Peanuts Planner Co., one of the freebies in her Facebook group, and I blew it up. I think this is like about 4 inches, maybe 4.5 inches, instead of the typical 3. So that's what I'm using for that. And then I have my like different categories on the side. And now we are into the first week of July. Today is the 3rd. So this is how my spread is looking so far. Once again, I really like it. And I said before that I really liked how this page came together. So I basically just took all of those washies and made a weekly spread. And I like that it has like a subtle nod to the 4th of July. That was like the original intent. It had like red and blue, but it wasn't like in your face 4th of July. And then I went ahead and plopped an American flag and some purple mountains on here. So I guess I kind of ruined the subtleness of it, but it is what it is. I really like it. By the way, I think America the Beautiful is like the best patriotic song ever, and it should be our national anthem over the Star Spangled Banner. And then in June, I had interspersed my weeklies with my journaling, and I noticed I didn't really love that. So this month, I'm going to try keeping them all together. So I have left 3 more weekly spreads blank so that I can set them up closer to the week, but also have them all together. And then we have my first page, which is my take on a gratitude log. So I just used the like copy pasta of like, my skin is clear, my crops are flourishing, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote all that out. And then in this space, I will fill this in with all of the things that I am grateful for. And then we have July 1st. This was the first day of NHL free agency. So I have some stuff about that. I think I meant to finish writing some stuff, but I never did. So it is what it is. I'm just going to leave it. And then it was also the first day of Wimbledon. So of course I had to print out the draw and tape it in here. There's nothing I love more than a bracket. So if there's a bracket, I'm going to fill it out. So there is that. And then I think I am a day behind, but I'll go back in and finish it. And then I have another financial spread here. I'm calling this the State of the Credit Union. It's basically just my account balances, not including my like 401k and investments and all of that. Underneath this, there's a bar graph, but once again, I'm not sure how much I'm comfortable sharing, but just like every month I'm going to go in and update that. It's a bar graph. I don't know if I said that already, but that is that. And then we have the 2nd and today, which is the 3rd. I still need to do my journaling, and then I'll probably do like video notes for this video as I'm editing on this page. And that is it so far. So yeah, I am very excited to be back on YouTube. I'm very excited about the next video, which I brainstormed right before filming this, and I am so excited. After I finish this and edit it, I'm gonna start working on that one, and I'm really excited. So I hope that you will stick around to see it if you've made it this far, and if you stuck around the channel this long, even after my breaks, thank you so much. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. All right, bye.